10. We have some cards, some folks who want to make some public comments, beginning with Glenn Garoon.
Good evening. I live in Southwest Fort Worth. I wanted to briefly comment, since you're going into session about the Chancellor issue, as a taxpayer of the county. I admit that I'm a little concerned over the process that took place, to me, the lack of a more dedicated search. And let me say, this is nothing personal with Ms. Hadley. If I'm not mistaken, her daughter and my son graduated from Paschal High School together about 15 years ago. So this has nothing to do with that. I think the process is what has concerned me watching it. Secondly, I did a brief visit to the Texas Association of Community College websites, and I saw a lot of PhDs. I think this is the only major community college district that would not have a PhD at its head, although I could be wrong. I don't know how often they update that site. And most of the campuses have individuals with those qualifications. And again, this is nothing personal. I just think, as someone who has watched the process primarily from the press and watching the videos of the meetings, I was concerned about that. And I think it certainly is something that ought to be considered in the future. But thank you very much.
Dr. Laurie Fluker and Dr. Rod Fluker from Austin, Texas.
Good evening. I am Dr. Laurie Fluker, and I am here to say congratulations to the board and to Mrs. Johnson Hadley. I represent Texas State University, where I serve as Associate Dean in the College of Fine Arts and Communication, as well as Associate Professor in Journalism and Mass Communication. Having heard the first speaker, I'd like to say that I couldn't disagree with him more. I drove in all the way from Austin, Texas, to tell you that. Ms. Johnson Hadley has been a mentor of mine from afar first, when I was a student at Wiley College, at SMU, and at University of Texas. I do have my PhD, and I know many people who do, but I don't know many people like Ms. Johnson Hadley. And let me just tell you that if anyone could be any better than this person sitting here, I don't know him. And I've been a lot of places and seen a lot of things. I'm also the immediate past president of the Texas Association of Black Personnel in Higher Education. And Ms. Johnson Hadley is one of the founders of that organization. She has mentored many of us as we have made it through the process of getting our doctoral degrees, and she has made sure that she has been there to tell us what to do and tell us how to do it in such a way that we've been successful. And so you know what I'm talking about if you've been with her. It's a pleasure to have seen her daughter grow up the way that she has. But you could not have gotten any better. I don't want to take any more time, but simply to say that we've been hours on the road, we'll be hours on the way back, but it's well worth it to just let you know that you've got a jewel, and I'm sure you already know that. But thank you very much.
Good evening, board members, Madam Chair, Madam Chancellor, my good friend, Dr. Morrison. We bid you greetings from the Texas Association of Black Personnel in Higher Education. My name is Dr. Rod Fluker. I serve as Executive Director. And as Laurie just said, we drove in from Austin just to first congratulate the board on your wisdom for picking such a fine choice. And let me say that you could have had an 18-month search worldwide, and you would not have come up with a better candidate than Ms. Johnson Hadley, and that's the truth. And once again, congratulations on your wisdom and your selection. Ms. Johnson Hadley, congratulations. She is one of the founders of our association, and she has led many of us for many years, as she has advocated for Tarrant County College for 40-something odd years. I'm not sure how long you've been here, but I know it's been a long time. Congratulations. Thank you.
Gina Bivens.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, Board, and Chancellor Johnson. My name is Gina Bivens. I'm a Fort Worth resident. I don't have a PhD, and I don't really want to talk about the process. I want to tell you how excited I am about this weekend college that you have going on. I think it's going to give a lot of people a lot of important that is. And I don't know how much time you took in developing that plan, but it has certainly put us on the map. And so to that I say thank you. Thank you, Madam Chancellor. And thank you to the board for getting someone who could just step right in seamlessly and make us all proud. Thank you.
Those are all the cards that I have. The next item is each month we have a report from one program or another, and this month it's an administrative report entitled Closing the Gaps. Mrs. Hadley.
Try it again. There you go.
This has to go in the record. All right, thank you. Madam President and board members, I am very pleased to present to you tonight a report on closing the gaps. All of us know how important closing the gaps is. It's been around now for 5 years. It is a program that was designed by the Higher Education Coordinating Board to help us increase the numbers of Hispanic and African American students who are enrolled in colleges and universities in order to help the United States stay competitive in this world market. Tarrant County College has been working hard along with other institutions. This is the 5-year point, and we have a progress report for you, and it's going to be led by Dr. Linda Hines. Dr. Hines is our Director of Research, and she's going to be team tagged by our new employee, Dr. Joy Gates Black. Dr. Black just started here to work for us on Monday. And here she is on Thursday about to make a presentation. Dr. Gates Black comes to us from the Dallas County Community College District, where she was the Vice President for Student Success and Enrollment Management. She's also been an administrator at San Antonio College, Los Angeles City College, and the University of the Redlands. She's a member of the National Association of Student Affairs Administrators, as well as the National Council on Black American Affairs, including many other national, regional, and state organizations. Dr. Black, if you'll stand now and take a bow, and we say welcome to you. Dr. Hines.
Thank you, Ms. Hadley, Ms. Appleman, and board, guests, and staff. I don't think closing the gaps is the key of our attention tonight, but it is very important for the state of Texas and for TCC. Shelley has been excellent in helping me to prepare this. In 2000, actually we're at the 10-year mark.
10 years, yes, thank you.
In 2000, Texas designed Closing the Gaps by 2015 to succeed Access 2000. And I've underlined 4 points down here for student participation, student success, excellence, and research. To close the gaps in participation, we look at fall enrollment. We take the overall, we take the segments of our society, African American, Hispanic, and white, and we're going to look at their enrollment. To close the gaps in success, we look at certificates and degrees, and those are at all levels, and of course ours are at the level of associate and certificate. And then under that, we're going to look at African American, Hispanic. But we also need to look at 2 critical fields that are so important to the vitality of Texas and to the vitality and defense of the United States. These are called by National Science Foundation the STEM areas, engineering, computer science, and so forth, and then, of course, the health sciences. Now, for excellence, they want each college to identify programs that will attain national accreditation or something. Well, the Legal Assistant Program on Northeast has been named, the Fire Technology on Northwest, and we've also added the Dietetics Program on Southeast. When it comes to research, we do not receive research funds. We're not a research institution, so we move past that one. Where are we at TCC with regard to participation? I know this graph has a little bit extra data on it, but what it tells us is the actual, which comes down to this past fall, 2009. We had 44,355. We had actually a duplicated count of 56,000. And why? Because our students take distance learning or they travel from one campus to the other. So if you look at this graph, you'll see that we have a red and a green graph. The coordinating board actually adds our numbers together. So if we were to look at what's finally reported, it will be right along between those. Now, just very briefly, I will connect to the actual report. You'll see we still have Dr. Lace's name. We have connect points if we need to research it. You can see that the state right here has raised that to 630,000 rather than 500,000. I'm going to go down just briefly, if I can see past Bobby's head. That's okay. No, I'm hitting my button. I'm going to just show you. But like one item that I will share with you, our associate degrees and certificates, this is the actual that the coordinating board has for us, and this is what we projected. Now, if you'll look, and it's very small, but this fall I reported 3,257 actual degrees. So you can see that we're right between that number and that number, but we are asked to project out for each of these measures. And so our report goes down. One other one, the associate degrees by ethnic group. You see this actual 291 and right down through here. And this is what we projected for next year. Well, if you can see my little sticky note, we're right in between. From 291, African American went to 312. Hispanic went from 338 to 431. These are the numbers that I've just reported. Okay, we could go to a lot of detail. You can take me to back to my slides. I had to have Shelley's help to navigate. Oh, okay. Hold my mouse still. All right. So how is success measured? It's really by certificates and degrees. There may be other ways, little milestones, but that's really the measure. I wanted you to see in the state, and ours follows this very much. Blue is what we're projecting, green is reality, and that's for these degrees. Okay, let's look at just associate degrees. You see what has been projected and what is reality. So we're leveling out a little bit. Now, if we look at African American, if we were to take this point and this point, we would think maybe we would wind up there. But the later values are going to tell us we may fall short. Hispanic, somewhat the same thing. They have a little more of an upward turn, but still we're going to fall short unless something is done. Now, this is the critical one as far as how do we reach it. You can see that our projections are going to come out about right here. And that's on those major STEM items. Okay, the last one is on excellence. And I chose this little guy because we've just all seen the Olympics and we know what the gold standard is. And this little graph just had us pointed onward and upward. But mainly, I think we have two main things that we all share. One is our licensure report, which Ms. Hadley shared last time, which is excellent. Every year, those licensure rates really make us proud. And then the number of students in PTK. And we have a lot of awards for faculty and staff and students. But I think that striving for excellence brings out the best in everyone. This is the link that you could go for the full reports. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Joy Gates Black.
Get that back to you. Good evening again. It's day 4, and I am excited to be here. But we've got a lot of work to do, so I'm excited to jump right in. So what are the implications for TCCD if we do not reach our goals for closing the gaps? Well, first of all, if we continue on our current trajectory, the odds are we will not reach our goals for closing the gaps. And what will that translate into? Well, that translates into a workforce that is not as skilled or as educated. That also translates more importantly to the bottom line of our economy, having a strong local economy. So it is in our best interest to do everything that we can to positively impact the closing the gaps. We will look for some strategies to enhance closing the gaps, and we're going to do that in a number of ways. We're going to enhance access, and I say access, that's participation. We're going to do that. What I mean by that is we are going to find ways to increase the representation of many underrepresented groups so they can attend TCC. We're also going to look for ways to enhance success of students once they enter our institution. And lastly, we're going to look for ways to really promote the excellence of our instruction and our support services. Some strategies that we're going to use to enhance access or participation. Well, first of all, dual credit. I think most of you are familiar with dual credit. It is a great vehicle for helping high school students to gain college education while they're still in high school. And certainly House Bill 1, passed in 2006, is a great incentive. It requires high schools to offer students the opportunity to obtain up to 12 hours of college credit while they're still in high school. So we are going to look for ways to expand that dual credit. We are also going to look for ways to expand our College Connection program. It's a great program. We need to look for ways to offer it at all of our high schools in Tarrant County. We're also going to look for ways to enhance interest in the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, even at the middle school level. And lastly, we're going to look at college readiness. How do we work with our high schools to improve the readiness of our students so that when they come to Tarrant County College, there is less of a need for developmental education? Now let's talk about success. What are we going to do? Well, we propose to do a number of things. First of all, we are going to continue with our new student group advisement. That's a new program that we have implemented here, and it is a wonderful program. We need to see how we can advance that. We're also going to explore supplemental instruction. This is a great vehicle for peer mentoring or peer instruction in the classroom. We're going to look at a review of our current TSI plan because we want to discourage students from waiting until the last minute to take their developmental courses. It's not in their best interest. We are also going to review our surveys that we've recently completed. The survey of entering student engagement, those are for those first-time in college students. We're also going to look at the community college survey of student engagement to find out what our students were talking about in terms of interaction and engagement and all of those kinds of things. And then we're going to look for ways to improve. And then we're going to look at ways to accelerate the completion of courses in the developmental sequence. And hopefully we will also, through doing all of these things, be on a pathway of continuous improvement as we look at instruction and our support services. The last element is excellence. We propose to look, first of all, to develop elements of excellence. What that means is defining what excellence means in Tarrant County College. And once we do that, working to identify best practices that are happening at all of our campuses throughout the state and across the country, and look for ways to bring those in and incorporate them, maybe modify them, but bring them in so that we can take advantage of them for our students. So closing the gaps, what does it mean? Well, as I said, it means advancement in the success of all of our students. It means an educated workforce, and most importantly, it means a strong local economy. And this is not a list that's complete by any stance. It's going to take all of us working together collaboratively and cooperatively to make it happen. But by doing so, we will achieve that goal. Thank you. Yes.
I don't know what I'd do without you, Bill. Thank you. There are a couple of other things I want you to know about Dr. Gates Black. She's a native of Dayton, Texas, and an Air Force veteran. She holds a doctorate degree from Pepperdine University and a master's in education from Cambridge College. In addition to coordinating our student-based student services activities, she will also oversee admission services, records and reports, enrollment services, and the Information Center. And notice that her title is, board members, Vice Chancellor for Student Success. Thank you, Dr. Joy Gates Black.
Thank you.
Before I run,
ask a question, please, before you sit down? Don't leave so soon.
Microphone.
You know, I'm sorry. Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Hear me? There are a lot of initiatives that have been tried in trying to close the gaps. I mean, I've seen them, dual credit being one of those, reaching out to the high school students and trying to kind of bring them in and provide the support they need. So all of these things, to some extent, have been tried, and we're nowhere near closing the gap. We are still lagging behind in Hispanic and African American enrollment. How are we going to go about this differently this time? Because I have heard these things, and I'm anxious to see us reaching out to the underserved students. What do you propose to do different from what has not already been done in the past?
Okay. Well, it is on. I think a lot of the things that I'm certain, a lot of the things that we've already done were very successful. The question is, how do we expand them? And also looking very strongly at the data. What does it tell us? Everything isn't necessarily appropriate for every community. So we need to look at that, and we need to talk to our current students and gain that information. But most importantly, it's not just collaboration across our district. It is collaboration with our schools. We have to develop a closer relationship with the schools and with our community organizations. And we have to create environments where where students want to be. So again, it's looking at how we do what we do and maybe looking differently. It's about change.
Right.
It has to be about that as well.
And I'm excited about the collaboration with the schools because it has to be a joint effort.
It absolutely does.
But thank you very much, and
You're
I
welcome.
wish you success
Thank
because
you.
I'm anxious to see those gaps closed.
We have no choice.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Winnett and board members, I think it's important for you to know, I've told you this, but you may not remember. The 5 presidents urged me to hire a different person as a vice chancellor for we were saying student development, we later changed student success. And their petition was about exactly what you're talking about. We had one person who was coordinating academics as well as student success efforts. And they all told me that the majority of the effort always went to academics. And so we didn't have a point person who was the person in charge. Now, Dr. Gates Black will be the person in charge. And we're counting on her to lead us. She has excellent experience in having done these things before. When she was interviewed by the committee, when she walked in the room and started talking, the committee was like, this is it. They all agreed right away that she has what it takes to move us there. So we're counting on
Good.
her.
And I'd like to see the progress as it begins.
We'll
Thank you.
certainly keep you informed. And before we go to the next item, I'd like to also present another new staff member, and he is Mr. Mark McClendon. Mark, stand up. Mark is our new CFO. He is a native of Venezuela. He earned master's degrees in accounting and business administration from the University of Arkansas and the University of Chicago, respectively. His experience has been in the private sector with NGR Energy, Financial Solutions, as well as Schlumberger. He has overseen the financing of energy and technology projects throughout the world with special emphasis on Latin America. He presently serves on the boards of the Texas Assembly for Hispanic Advancement and the National Association of Hispanic MBAs. As TCC's Chief Financial Officer, he will oversee all of the departments of business services, finance, purchasing, risk management, and financial aid. Let's welcome Mark McClendon. And I have another new person to introduce. Make sure I find her. And that is, where is my note here? Ms. McCurdy. Where is Ms. McCurdy? Come around front, Ms. McCurdy. She belongs to you, board members. She is our new internal auditor that I promised that I would bring on. She's a native of Dallas. She's a certified public accountant and earned her bachelor's degree in accounting from UT Arlington. She has been with Citigroup since 1990, serving in various divisions and in such capacities as Director of Financial Reporting, Comptroller, Financial Reporting, and Control Manager. And she started her work with us on March 1st. Now, since you're not on the program to speak tonight, say hello to your bosses. Ms. McCurdy.
Actually, I'd like to say hello to everybody, members of the board, members of the Chancellor's executive leadership team, Chancellor, Ms. Johnson Hadley, and members of the audience as well. I'm pleased to serve all of you as in the capacity of internal auditor. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to the future and adding value to the TCC team.
Ms. McCurdy will have a direct reporting structure to the board with a dotted line to Mark McClendon in the CFO. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And finally, this person is certainly not new to us, but he's officially now in a new role. And that's Dr. Bill Lace, who always is available to keep me straight. Stand up, Dr. Lace. Dr. Lace started at TCC in 1981, and he served as the Vice Chancellor for Public Affairs and as Executive Assistant to the Chancellor before I asked him to take over as the interim for the position that I was vacating. In addition to acting as the college's Chief Officer on legal and policy issues, he will direct the Police Department and the Office of Human Resources, Institutional Diversity, and Emergency Management. And he is now the official Vice Chancellor for Administration. Welcome, Dr. Lace.
Do any of the other board members have comments or questions regarding closing the gaps? Okay. I regret to inform you that we're going into closed session. Deliberation on pending contemplated litigation, Section 551.071 Texas Government Code, real property, Section 551.072 Texas Government Code, and personnel matters, Section 551.074 Texas Government Code. The litigation discussion will address contemplated litigation relating to real estate matters. The real property discussion will address the lease/disposition of real property. The personnel discussion will include the evaluation of the interim chancellor and the employment, evaluation, and/or duties of a chancellor. So with your indulgence, we will adjourn to a closed meeting, and hopefully it will not be too long.
ain't acting right. Every superwoman needs a superman. Here I am. I got a bunch of dollars, I can spend them on her. No, she can be my lady, she could be my lover. Got me on a late night, get right, he ain't acting right. Every superwoman needs a superman. Here I am. I got a bunch of dollars, I can spend them on her. No, she can be my lady, she could be my lover. Got me on a late night, get right, he ain't acting right. Every superwoman needs a superman. Here I am. I got a bunch of dollars, I can spend them on her. No, she can be my lady, she could be my lover. Got me on a late night, get right, he ain't acting right. Every superwoman needs a superman. Here I am. Ooh.
Talk to me or? I had nothing with Coach anyway.
I know, you're probably relieved.
Sorry.
Okay. Thank you for your patience. We have two very important items of business to take action. First, I would like to call on Mr. McGee for the first motion.
Well, it's with great pleasure that on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I move that Irma Johnson Hadley be appointed as Chancellor for Tarrant County College District, and that the Board President be authorized on behalf of the district to execute an employment agreement for a 3-year term at an annual salary of $365,000 a year.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous decision. No, I don't. I do. Tell them who she is. Turn around, Ardina.
Turn around.
And face the audience.
Yes, ma'am. This is my daughter, Thelma Ardina Johnson Gould.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
She was in the neighborhood from Atlanta. Thought she'd stop by.
Very attractive.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Madam President. I have permission to speak. The first thing I need to say, of course, is to thank you to the 7 outstanding members of the Board of Trustees for showing the confidence in me to fill this very awesome position. Tarrant County College last year served 100,991 people. We are the second largest in the state by the number of students served in fiscal year '09. The people in Leggett, Texas, would have never believed that Irma Jean would one day be the chancellor of one of the largest institutions in this state and in this country. But more importantly than that, the little boys and girls in Leggett would never have dreamed such dreams. I think I am the perfect person for this position today. I bring with me all of those things that are good about this country. We have an opportunity in this country to go as high as we dare to strive. And when I came here 41, almost 42 years ago, as a faculty member on the Northeast campus, I thought I had literally died and gone to heaven. I was so pleased to be a part of a new, dynamic institution. I was one of the charter faculty members on that campus, and I had an opportunity to help shape the future of Northeast campus. And when I was asked to leave my teaching position and come to the district office as an administrator, I said no. And I said no 3 times. And the only reason I agreed on the 4th time to accept the position was because of one of my great friends and mentor, Glenadine Pippin, rest her soul. She's gone now. But she was my department chair. And my husband, Ardenia's father, Lawrence Johnson, the two of them said to me, "We know you love what you're doing. We know you're passionate about it. And we know the most important thing is you like to help people and you like to bring about changes for the better. Get to the district office and touch a lot more people." I took that advice, I came, and now I get to lead the entire organization. And I want all of you to know, and I want all the members of this community to know that I will not let you down. I also will be very frank and say that I have a big job ahead of me. We have a lot of things to do at Tarrant County College. And on behalf of all of my colleagues, I'd like for the members of the Chancellor's executive team to please stand, because I want everybody to see you out in the audience. All of you stand up, don't be shy, just stand up, because if I am successful, I'm telling the world, it will only be because of you. I can lead, but I can't do everything. And I'm going to be counting on all of you with the great guidance from this board to help me reach the goals that we must reach for the citizens of Tarrant County. It is indeed a pleasure for me to sit here tonight as the new chancellor of one of the best institutions in the country. And I thank all of you. And I have the last, you may be seated, thank you. I cannot close this out without remembering my parents, and especially my mother, who always wanted the very best for us. She gave us all she had. And if any of you who work with me have a tendency to say that I am picky and I am sticky and all of that, you can blame Miss Thelma Chancellor for that, because she instilled things in me that are still here today. She also instilled in me the value of helping other people. And as a little girl from Leggett, Texas, who never thought that she'd have an opportunity to do very much of anything, means that I am a perfect person to be here. I can help inspire many of those others who think that they don't have the opportunity. I can prove to them, yes, you can do it. Thank you so much. Ardenia, you're very special to me. And I am so pleased that you were able to be here with me tonight. I love you. Well, Mrs. Appleman has inquired about my recognizing all of my special friends. And, you know, I don't see anybody who's not special to me out there. And so let me just say that I want to especially thank all of you who have come to witness this historic event. That gave me another minute. Bobby, am I 5 minutes yet? I was over today at the Sheraton Hotel speaking for UT Arlington, and they had this panel on, you know, what is your brand, and how do you define your brand? And one of the ladies said that I have been the first to do this and the first to do that and all those things. And when it came to me, I said, you know, I too have been the first. And now I realized I'm the first woman chancellor that Tarrant County College has had in the 42 years. And the other thing that I'll say, one of the ladies said today, you know, what is your brand and what do you do with your skin and all of that? And I said, well, you know, this is a part of my brand. This is a part of it. And it just happens that I'm the first African American to be Chancellor of the Tarrant County College District. And that, of course, is prideful for a lot of people, especially the little black boys and girls from the Leggett Texases of the world. Thank you.
And now we have a second item of business, which requires action. I'm going to ask Mr. Kennedy to...
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As important as this resolution is, it's not going to elicit the same level of response that that one did. Through this resolution, the Board of Trustees of the Tarrant County College District authorizes the Chancellor to enter into an amendment to the existing lease with Radio Shack Corporation on parts of lots 1, 2, and 3, Radio Shack addition to the city of Fort Worth, Tarrant County, Texas, according to the plat thereof recorded in Cabinet A, Slide 10730, Plat Records, Tarrant County, Texas, substantially in accordance with the terms of the presently drafted First Amendment to lease, copies of which have been furnished to the Board of Trustees. Thus, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Tarrant County College District that the Chancellor is authorized to enter into and complete such First Amendment to lease with Radio Shack Corporation as specified in this resolution.
You move approval?
I move approval.
Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Mrs. Vandergriff. Any discussion? Does everyone understand what that means?
I will tell them if you want. You want to carry the
This
motion,
is
then I'll
a
speak.
very significant first step at preserving one of this community's most important employers. Ms. Hadley?
Do you want to carry the motion first?
Well, it's part of the discussion.
As part of the discussion. I'd just like to tell you that I am ecstatic over our having been able to keep Radio Shack in Fort Worth, Texas, in Tarrant County, Texas, as well as in the property that belongs to Tarrant County College District. This lease, I think, is very good for all of us. I call it a win-win-win-win situation. First of all, it's good for our taxpayers. We will be receiving lease money. Those are dollars that will come back to Tarrant County College District, and that's a very good thing. Secondly, all of those employees who work for Radio Shack will maintain their jobs and continue to help us stimulate our economy. Tarrant County College District students on Dr. Fulkerson's campus get to rub shoulders with executives on a daily basis, and we already have commitments from Julian Day, the CEO, and some of the other professionals there to actually do some personal interaction with our students, and that is really, really big. And fourth of all of us at Tarrant County College District get to interact with the Radio Shack people as well. And so I think the people of Tarrant County will be very pleased to know that Radio Shack is staying here. And I think Radio Shack will also be very pleased not to have to move right now. It is important for everybody to know that the space that they will continue to occupy is not space that we need today, and it's space that we will not need for a while. The two buildings that we have right now that we are occupying on Trinity River campus have a potential capacity of about 17,000 students. So it's going to be a while before we'll need those additional buildings. This is a very, very good deal for us. If Radio Shack were to move, we'd still have the upkeep of that building. We'd have to pay insurances. We'd have to pay all of those other things. So it really is a great win-win situation for us. Purchasing this campus has proven to be a very good decision because we have increased access to education for many. And in the coming decades, we will need all of this space at that campus as well as the new Bluff campus. But this lease extension was possible because we have that extra space now. And so we hope that all of you will see in time, if you don't see immediately, that this is absolutely one of the best things that Tarrant County College could have accomplished right now. And I want to publicly thank two members of my team, especially one team member, Nina Petty. Nina just came on just a few days ago. She got here right in the middle of my negotiations with Julian Day and their CFO. And she took that over along with our attorney, Birch Waldron. They did a yeoman's job. I also want to thank our board members for being so supportive of this and seeing that we really do need to do that. A very special thanks goes to Board Member McGee for assisting me whenever I needed that. So, and Mrs. Appleman always was right there. She always is with everything else. But this is a big deal for Tarrant County College, and I'm almost as happy about this as I am being named Chancellor. Not quite, but almost.
And Mrs. Hadley deserves a lot of credit for this big step. Any further discussion, questions, comments? All those in
Turn your mic on.
All those in favor of the motion proposed by Mr. Kennedy, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous vote. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda? The approval of the minutes of the meeting of February 18th, or consideration and approval of requests for board approval of providers for job order contracting trade services, which were in your packet sent to you prior to the meeting. If not, then I would seek a motion to approve those two items, the minutes and the request, the providers list that was furnished to you. Motion to
So
approve.
moved.
By Mr. McGee, a second, please. Second. Mr. Kennedy. All those in, any discussion, any questions? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? A unanimous vote. The monthly financial report, we've managed to welcome Mark and then tell him you're not going to give your little report, I think.
I would just move, Madam President, that we accept the financial report as presented.
Well, we can't do that. It's an information item only, so no, a motion at this time is out of order. But it is in your packet, and I know Mr. McClendon would welcome any questions or if you have any concerns or questions about the report.
Madam President, probably at next month's board meeting, Mark is going to give you an overview of his findings on a lot of the things as we move forward. He has brought with him a lot of really good suggestions for us, and we'll be able to do that next month.
We will look forward to it. There's really not a board president's report. I do want to once again thank all of you who have participated in the 41 meetings regarding the strategic plan. Some 1,200 people have participated, and I understand there have been 15,000 suggestions. That's a lot of flip charts, and some of you have been to more than one meeting, and I thank you for that participation and all the members of the community. Chancellor's report, Mrs. Hadley.
Madam President, in the interest of time, I'm going to just let you read all the things that you dare to read in my Chancellor's report. I do want to mention one thing, if you will just pass those down. Larry Darlidge is very proud of some recent awards on his campus, and I wanted those reflected in the record. Several awards were given to collegiate staffers at the Region 8, that includes Texas and Oklahoma, Society of Professional Journalists Mark of Excellence Luncheon, March the 6th at the University of Texas. Those who won first places in their categories will advance to compete against other first place winners from across the country. And you can see we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 students who won about 14 or so awards. Some won multiple awards. And so we want to give a special thanks to Eddie Gallagher, who is the sponsor of that, and Dr. Darlidge, thank you for keeping that program going so well. Appreciate it. And that's all I'll mention for my report. Yes, ma'am.
There's no further business. This meeting is adjourned. Our next meeting is Thursday, April 15th at 6 p.m. Thank you for coming and staying so late with us.
Yeah, he's one of our students.
I know.